Located deep in the hills of the beautiful Dry Creek Valley is the Montemaggiore Winery, owned by Lise and Vince Ciolino. In 2009, their vineyards were certified as biodynamic. We visited with Vince to chat with him about biodynamic farming at Montemaggiore. We asked Vince to point out some of the more interesting biodynamic methods he uses to farm his vineyards. Before you get to your farming practices, can you give us a very concise definition of biodynamics?
The whole idea of biodynamic farming is you're creating a self-contained, self-sustaining ecosystem.
So I know cow manure is a big part of biodynamic farming. Tell us how you use it here at Montemaggiore.
We don't have any cows, so I buy cow manure. You can see I've probably got started out about twice that size, about 80 yards worth. It's covered right now, but once the rains stop, we'll uncover it all and we'll turn it over several other times. But the one thing that we do from a biodynamic standpoint is we apply 6 different preparations in there, like a chamomile tea, stinging nettles. I'd have to pull out the list. And what it does is it helps influence how the compost is broken down. Now, when that pile is completely converted, it smells like pure black dirt. And then I'll use that after harvest this year. In the meantime, there's a certain period where I have literally 2 compost piles going, one of fresh cow manure and then one of the old stuff. The fresh cow manure I usually bring in after we finish and we lay out the pumice, the stems, everything that comes out of our estate goes into a compost pile. And then I buy the cow manure, and you can see the cow manure will go on top of it. And then we start mixing it. So we break down everything. After harvest, we'll put a shovel full on every single vine.
Now the chicken coop is really interesting. It's an exact replica of your winery on wheels. So what do the chickens do for you?
What the chickens will do is, as I move them around on this chicken tractor, is they'll go in and they start scratching up the soils, spread the compost even better. So they're really good at getting at a lot of the pests that the other natural predators don't get to, like the ladybugs and the spiders. And so chickens are really good, obviously, at eating bugs.
The cow horn has to be one of the most fascinating biodynamic practices. Tell us about the cow horns.
The cow horns that we're going to dig up, the compost, will make a soluble mixture because it's rich in microorganisms. So I'll mix 60 gallons of warm water, and I put enough in there for 2 applications, one in the spring and then one in the fall, and probably could do even more for around other parts of my property. So it'll be warm water because we want to keep the microbial activity going. And then we just broadcast it. We'll use a brush and you want the droplets to get out there. And the idea is to get these microorganisms to propagate. The healthy soil is always rich in microbial activity, right? But if you're spraying with herbicides, not only are you killing the weeds, but you're killing the microorganisms. So then plants become addicted to, the artificial nutrients. So that's why this preparation called Prep 500, which is this cow manure that was buried in a cow horn. We've got a whole bunch of it, and it just becomes rich in microorganisms. And the idea, again, is to broadcast it throughout your whole estate.
I see this is a tea composter. How does that work?
This has been one of my best investments from an organic biodynamic perspective, as far as I make my own compost tea. And so I'll fill these baskets up. I'll fill this up with 100 gallons of water. There's aerators down here at the bottom. And so what we're trying to do is we're bubbling, this compost into a tea. Oh. And it runs for 24 hours, and I get 100 gallons out of it. And then I'll put it in my sprayer, my big sprayer, and then I'll spray it specifically up there. I've been using it for 2 things. One is for nutrients, and then secondly for disease control.
What is the downside of biodynamic farming?
The downside, the difficult part of farming biodynamically, is my yields are really low because I can only use natural fertilizers, and I'm not using the steroids or the synthetic fertilizers, stuff created by the chemical companies, which, is good if you're a commercial farmer, but on the flip side, I'm creating a natural environment here, and so the vines are pulling up natural nutrients, And so that's the downside is I'm trying to get my yields up to about 2.5 to 3 tons an acre. I'm at about 1.5 tons per acre.
And what about the upside of biodynamic farming?
We're creating a healthy environment. You know, I walk through here, the vines touch my skins. I know that anything I apply to the vines is natural. So I don't want to have to wake up at 65 with something that's incurable, or my son to wake up at 25 with, leukemia.
There is much more to biodynamic farming than you have seen here today. If you want to know more or just want to taste the delicious Syrah wines in Montemaggiore, make an appointment to visit this beautiful winery tucked back in the hills of the Dry Creek Valley. You won't be disappointed.